If you are new to cake decorating, chances are you're using icing to start, whether that is whipped icing or buttercream icing. A while back, I put together a video called 5 icing mistakes to avoid for cake decorating beginners, and today I'm going to be reacting to that video and providing more insights based on the comments that I've received. Let's get started.
There are times when you'll need your icing to be very thick. This is the case if you're piping buttercream flowers. However, your icing should never be runny.
Okay, first off, it was so fun to add all of that water to that icing to make it extra runny like that. Now, that's something that I typically never ever do. So to be able to do that just to kind of mess it up was a little fun.
When working with buttercream, strive to achieve a nice medium consistency in which your spatula glides smoothly through the icing and the icing has some thickness to it, but never runny.
So the most frequently asked question about this particular mistake is, how do I thin out thick icing? Whipped icing typically does not get super thick like this. So this tip is more so for buttercream icing. If you're using buttercream and you come across a buttercream that's super thick, or you've made buttercream from scratch and it seems very thick, what you'll want to do is add water or milk gradually to the buttercream, so a little bit at a time. Stir it completely until it gets to the consistency of icing that you need. You also just want to keep an eye on the consistency as you're adding in the water or the milk. Again, you want to add these just little by little. All right, on to our next mistake.
When you color your icing, never use liquid food coloring. The reason why is that it contains water, and this water can greatly loosen your icing, making it impossible to ice a cake or pipe decorations with. Gel food coloring is the best choice and is becoming more and more accessible. You can also use oil-based coloring as well.
Now, this is a mistake a lot of people have admitted to in the comment section, and I think it's because it's more common to still come across liquid food coloring in the grocery store than it is to come across gel paste food coloring. You can also use powder color to color your buttercream. Now, this is a powdered food color that is actually a natural food coloring. Powder color is as effective as coloring icing as gel paste color and oil-based color. And it's a great alternative, especially if you prefer to use natural food colorings. Now, on to our next mistake.
Have you ever eaten red, black, purple, or pink icing that's had a bitter taste to it? This is a direct result of overcoloring. Avoid using too much coloring, especially red, black, purple, and pink. The best approach is to color the icing 1 to 2 drops at a time, stopping occasionally to taste the icing. Now, don't lick the spatula, of course, but tasting by dipping a clean utensil or toothpick into the icing, then discarding it works best. Icing of any color will slightly darken as it sits over time.
Now, this is the first time that I think I'd ever given any tips on my channel where the taste of your cake or cupcakes could be impacted. I think a lot of people paid attention to this particular mistake and have been avoiding it. Great job. Now, this is a great segue. If you're enjoying the video or if you're learning something new in the video, go ahead and hit the like button now. So now on to the next mistake.
I always tell my students there is improvisation in cake decorating, and this piping bag is missing something. If you're just getting started, you may want to always prep your decorating bag with a coupler. A coupler allows you to easily switch piping tips if you change your mind about your cake design. This saves you time and keeps you from having to create multiple bags containing the same color. So, don't skip the coupler.
As I mentioned, there is a lot of improvisation in cake decorating, and I don't get a lot of comments on this one, so I think a lot of people are starting to use couplers more and more. But I am curious, comment below and let me know, has there ever been a time where you had to change your cake design at the last minute? Like you had to improvise on the fly? We all want to know. So be sure to put in the comments down below.
If you're planning to use a variety of icing colors on your cake, you should definitely listen up to this next step. When coloring your icing, make sure that you color enough icing to finish your cake. Avoid coloring small quantities of icing. It can be very difficult to match icing colors if you happen to run out. It's better to have too much colored icing than not enough.
It's still better to have too much color than not enough color, especially when you are working on a cake like this that has a ton of different colors on the cake. Now let's get into our next mistake.
This is whipped icing. Meringue buttercream is very similar. These cakes are covered in American buttercream and white chocolate ganache. American buttercream and ganache crusts over or hardens without refrigeration and are more durable when covering a cake with fondant. Whipped icings simply aren't strong enough to use under fondant. Swiss meringue buttercream will harden when it's refrigerated, but you may want to avoid whipped icings if you're in a high humidity climate, unable to work in a temperature-controlled environment, or working with fondant. In general, have a basic understanding of what icings work best for your cake design.
Now I get so many questions about this, and it seems that a lot of people prefer to use whipped icing. My opinion is that buttercream icing is way more versatile than whipped icing. I actually made a video comparing whipped icing and buttercream icing, and you can check it out right here. Now if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button below. And as always, thanks for watching.